Thank you for joining in. My name is Sanjay, part of the team at Replo. I've got Tom here at OpenSend, and we've got two absolute killers in the e-com growth game today. I've got Spencer, growth consultant who has helped brands like BFCM and Weedmaps. And I've got Steve, head of growth over from the Kloth, and we are going to talk about the things that you can do in 2 hours or less to optimize everything you need to optimize for your Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale. So, gentlemen, thank you all for joining me. Excited to have you. I think we're gonna have a great chat.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so let's kick this off right off the rip with you've got 120 minutes, 2 hours, and the what's like the first flip that you want to switch to capture as much revenue as possible. Spencer, I'm gonna throw this to you first. What's like the number one thing that you want to run?
I mean, from my experience, it's creative at this time of year. The biggest thing is if you can have a deep ad bank of volume and you can have a ton of creative diversity, you're really going to give your media buyer, who I like to think of as kind of like the F1 driver of the whole business. You kind of got like your CEO and C-suite are like the principal management. You got your creative designers, everybody else who is going to be kind of like the pit team. But really that driver, that's their time right now. The race has just begun for the next, 40, 50 days. And the more ammo you can give them, which is going to be that creative bank of just volume so that they can pull that lever and diversity so they can hit more people. That's the first thing that I would start spooling up today if you haven't already done it. You don't already have tons of ads in that bank to look at. Because when you get to the heart of it and things start to get either rough or really good, the only thing that media buyer can do, or one of the main things they can do in real time, is go cut low performing ads and go put new ones live. So that's usually what I would do first, is just get that creative flywheel going.
Awesome. Steve, over to you, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I love me some good creative. But with me, I definitely come from a more technical aspect. So, somebody asked this at an executive retreat I was at, a month or two ago in Utah, and they're like, what's your non-negotiable? And to me, it is, ID resolution. Just signal loss is a real thing. Even if Tom wasn't here, I would still be saying that. But we still don't even know the repercussions of the iOS 26 changes. With losing a lot of the UTMs and everything, we still have cookie deprecation to deal with. So with me, I go pretty technical. Got to make sure the tech stack is in line. There's great partners that can get you fired up very quickly. There's a lot of free trials out there this time of the year where low lift and low risk. So with me, I definitely want to get as much signal back as possible. Push to your ESP. Klaviyo is very friendly when it comes to a lot of the new up and coming scrappy startups that are coming on board, being able to integrate very easily. So with me, I just really want to make sure that if you're coming, November 5th today, we just launched some early Black Friday, deal doorbusters. If you're coming back at the end of the month, we want to be able to know, that you already came to the site. You're not a fresh face to the brand.
Hell yeah.
Incredible.
Spencer, you mentioned creatives. I would imagine there's growth marketers out there that are still figuring out their budgets right now and where to spend that money. Back in your days at BFCM or elsewhere, what was your share of wallet? Like, where were you investing that money proportionally?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I think for most disruptors, or like anybody who's, in that 7 to 9 figure range, Meta usually gets the lion's share of that wallet. It's just the best place that you can get acquisition. They have the strongest algorithm. To Steve's point with tracking, their signals through CAPI are just the best. So they're going to be able to find that customer. And with that algorithm, it's not as much about like how you set up your targeting with your campaign structure and audiences. It does matter, but really the new targeting is creative, and most people know that. So Meta gets, for most people, a lion's share of that wallet. Some other people, that might be TikTok. Some other people, that might be YouTube. It's kind of like, where did you win? Where were you for your brand first to market? And what creators, are you winning with? But for me, for most of the clients, even at BFCM, it's like 50 to 70% is going to be on Meta. You're going to have, that 10% could be split anywhere else between Google, YouTube, TikTok, CTV. And those are going to range up and down, just depending upon, your business and where it started at. And then I think also time of year, right? So like October, I usually like to go heavier upper funnel at that time. So like YouTube, CTV, even Meta is going to be getting a lot more share of wallet during that time. As I get into November, I'm going to hone in on the best performing channel at that time, looking at whether it's your geo holdout tests, your multi-touch attribution. And for me, I lean a lot on post-purchase surveys. I really dial in like where are people seeing us from? I look at it year over year too. Last year and the year before, during Q4, where was that at? And then in December, I usually start to trickle back in towards Google. Um, People, it's the late shoppers. I'm one of them. You're really trying to find gifts for your second aunt or your grandma. You're hitting Google. So I usually start to sprinkle in a little bit more share of wallet that way.
How do
Second
you
hand, Grandma, you're a better gifter than I am.
how do you like? Okay, so you did walk through like a little bit of like budget allocation. If you're a a newer brand, or if you're just trying to get this like level of sophistication, how do you typically like map out where budget should be outside? I mean, is there if there's more depth in what you just described?
Yeah, I mean, in November, it's super tough to be able to figure that one out. Like, I'm not going to say you're late, but like, it's definitely late in the game to try to figure that one out. You should already know kind of like what is your best performing channel, and I would double down on that one, continue to win there, have your best stack, your best offer, your best creative in that spot. If you were able to figure it out a little bit sooner, that's when I really would be gathering that post-purchase survey data and trying to figure out where'd you hear us from and try to match back my percentage of share of wallet spend to percentage of attribution between new and return customers. And then geo holdouts, whether that's you're doing it manually in-house or you're using a more sophisticated partner like House. I think that's really going to help you tweak those bigger questions of share of wallet. And then when you're trying to actually optimize in platform, like down to like, okay, how do I make Meta the best channel or Google the best channel within itself? That's where in platform results and your multi-touch attribution and just making sure you know what KPIs are important to you at what time of the year is how you'll dial in further and further down.
Got it. Okay, and then just to kind of reiterate the fact that we want to give you stuff that you can do in under 2 hours. From the post-purchase survey tools that I've used in the past, you can usually get those set up in like 30 minutes, right?
You can do them super fast, yeah. So, yeah, turn it on right now if you want. I usually just like to see, hindsight's 2020, but like you have like 6 months of data leading up to it, and you're tweaking those, or if you can
Yeah.
see it year over year, is best. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, if you don't have a post-purchase survey set up yet, um, the best time is right now.
Got it. And then you also kind of mentioned some alternate channels. Is it too late to start testing out a Pinterest or some of the other things, or connected TV and those sorts of things, or would you recommend people try some of those things now, or wait till after the holiday season?
I mean, try it now, like if you can get credits. So that's my favorite thing. I know we've talked about it before. I've talked about it with Steve. Like right now, sales reps, it's Q4, they want to hit target. They're usually pretty lenient on it. If you can find a match or you can just get straight up free credits to test, like why not do it now with your best offer of the year? Some could argue like you don't want to acquire just right off of a sale, but like, dude, it's Q4. Like even at this time, like the whole year, I'm looking at like usually CAC and like new customers. This time of year, I'm usually looking at CPA, MER, and top line. Like go make that money, get new customers.
Okay.
And if you believe in your product too, I think that's something our president brought up actually in our meeting yesterday. He's like, oh well, do we really want to acquire customers that are going to be expecting a 20 to 40% discount and offer? And I said, well, you keep saying how much everyone loves our jeans. The fit is perfect, so why not just continue to ramp up, especially for us that we're so far ahead, from a growth standpoint on the numbers we were trying to hit.
I trust nobody logged on here to hear from the software sales guy, but I will give you from the opposite side of this coin. We sell software to D2C brands that typically you'd expect this time of year, and code freeze is changing absolutely nothing. And right now, this very moment, I have more active trials live than we've had for the entirety of the year. So a lot of brands are not hesitant right now to go test this thing, and they also recognize, like the data suggests from last year, we identified twice as many identities during the week of Black Friday, Cyber Monday than a normal week. That accounted for 3 times as many purchases, and the average cart was 20% higher. So it's like, this is your highest volume period for the highest intent audience that buys at the highest average cart. Like you can't afford to not test new things that could provide incrementality for for you this time of year. And that's not trying to load the deck for OpenSend, but generally speaking, I think we're evidence of the fact that in this high stakes time of year, other people are still making those bets to go try something new.
Tom, really quickly, what does OpenSend do? I think identity resolution is like this term that gets thrown around, and most people are like strangers to it. I'm curious to hear in your words what y'all do.
Yeah, simply put, we're telling you, like, you spend all this money to drive traffic to the site, and what we're doing is we're telling you who are those folks that came to your site that you don't have profiles for in Klaviyo or Braze or Iterable. So we set an intent threshold. We say, for example, I want to know everybody who came to my site that spent 60 seconds or more and visited 2 pages. We bump that up against our identity graph, and if that person is known to us and safe to pass through the opt-in consent we've already captured, we pass it in your ESP so you can retarget those folks. So like dream use cases, hit those folks with a welcome flow after their session, say thanks for stopping by rather than thanks for signing up. By creating profiles, we can also go send like all the abandonment flows you already know and love, and then if those people are engaged, drop them into campaigns. Like we're an insurance policy against the traffic you already generate.
I've personally used this, and I had like I was running an account for last year. It was like they launched on Shark Tank, and we added like 12 grand in a day just from like capturing the people that didn't fill in the pop-in or the pop-up or whatever. And it's always baffling to me that people don't know about it or realize how cool it is. Anyway, we'll learn about that down the road. But Steve, I gather I think you guys are on there right now, right?
Yeah, we've had huge success. I think we've been on for probably over a year and a half now. Super easy integration. I did it myself in like 10, 15 minutes. So, I think they were like, oh, I met Francesco, the CEO founder, and, we hit it off. I had used some other tools in the past, really liked what he had to say, and what made them different. So I was like, okay, cool, give it a shot. And then, I think I got an email saying, oh, you book some time to get it set up. I'm like, okay, it's already set up. Like it was the easiest thing. It was like 10 o'clock at night. I came home from a dinner and had everything connected and ready to go. Just connect your ESP, connect the Facebook pixel, and, it was easy to go and ready to launch. And we started seeing the identities come through, the next morning. It was great. And then, from the trial side, it was pretty funny. I think you just said, you saw 12K in revenue pretty quickly here. For the $1 trial that we did with them, I think we saw, 60, 75K in revenue for those 2 weeks. So I was like, oh, sure, if you can guarantee that ROAS or that ROI, then, we'll sign up for 10 years. But even regardless of that, it's been going extremely well. We're probably closing in on, 1 million new emails coming in through the platform. So it's been, really helpful to us across the board.
60, 70K in 14 days. Is that any good? How about that, Sanjay?
That's pretty great. I'll take that. That's a new Tesla right there.
For both of you guys, Spencer and Steve, I think most folks in your shoes this time of year go from like refreshing their reports on a weekly basis to maybe rolling over in bed and refreshing them in the morning. What's like the hero KPI when you roll over in the morning that you go look at because you think you can act on it quickly?
Similar to what Spencer said, I'm a big top line revenue guy. Thankful to be in the growth perspective. I don't even want to look at returns at all. That seems to be like, a product or someone else's issue. But me, I like to sit on the growth side because we go top line revenue, like you said, MER. I'd stay really close to conversion rate and just kind of really, look at what you're doing year over year, the last 2 years, have your benchmarks in place and really know what you're playing up against.
Spencer?
Yeah, I would second that. I mean, this time of year, top line year over year growth or whatever, your C-suite has been leading up to wanting to have that goal be for revenue week over week, month over month, or even Q4 as a whole. And then those health metrics like MER, cost per acquisition, those are really big. Most of the year, I'm looking at new customers and CAC. But at this time of year, I'm really just trying to capture top line, but I'm still thinking about those secondary metrics. Like last year, as I got into December, we drove like 20% to 30% more new customers than we did in November, which I know that sounds shocking to a lot of people, but it was a huge delta when I was looking at it. So part of a lot of my consultations this year, I've just been like, hey, don't be afraid to push in December. That is when you can get aggressive and get new people. Those are the people that are shopping late. And, they didn't go to their brands that they always go to. They're trying to find that gift they want to get. or maybe they still want to shop for themselves. But yeah, CAX last year and CPA last year in December was awesome.
How do you two? Obviously, there's this trend that what used to be 24-hour sales have now expanded. Steve, you talked about already running some like doorbusters now. Don't give away anything for the people that you want to convince you're only running a one-day sale on Cyber Monday. But how do you two think about like the length of the sales you're running now, what you do to warm things up, what you do on the actual days of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and when that ends?
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in there. For us, it's really tough because denim is very competitive. There's new brands showing up. There's such depth. Cut from the Cloth is exclusively a women's denim brand, but it's very competitive, and not all the brands are having as great of a year or a couple of year run that we've had here. One of everyone's favorite denim brands had a warehouse sale where they did 90% off, which we won't mention. Our good friends over there. But when things like that come up, or another competitive brand starts on Monday, you just kind of have to be prepared for it. So I was at one of the competitors to Cut from the Cloth for about 3.5 years. So I really know the space well. And what I told them was, we're not just going to rely on Cyber 5. We're not going to wait for Black Friday, or hey, we'll go early and come up on Thursday, because you really have to run that competitive analysis and be prepared for someone to start on that Monday. But for us, with the growth that we had seen, and the projections we wanted to hit, we had to look at a full November plan, because you don't know, and you have to just be nimble and be ready to drop something in if the entire market, Levi's goes 40% off starting the Sunday before. Which was the case last year.
Spencer, do you recall? I'm thinking about like you looking forward or in past years. How do you think about like when to launch those offers? How long they exist?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's pretty nuanced in a sense of that, like, if you have the strongest brand and you have the best product, you can kind of do whatever you want. But at the end of the day, this sale has only moved up further and further. Pretty much everyone in apparel that isn't like the very top of the top high fashion, or brands that are in that $1 billion range, these sales are already live. And so if you want to be competitive, you need to be live right now. But yeah, if you're Skims, you can go live whenever you want. Like, you could turn that sale on anytime you want. But I think if you are like very low 9-figure or 8-figure, 7-figure brand, you're probably live right now. Like November 1 is kind of like when it's taken off. And from what I've seen is this year on, I would say 11/14 is when it's really going to start ripping. Like, that's when it's going to start picking up. 11/14 is the date that you're going to start seeing e-commerce sales flying. And once you get to 11/21, you're going to see that double. And then obviously by 11/28, you're going to see that whatever triple, quadruple for those next 5 days. And then depending upon how bullish you want to be, if you really want to be spending into that Q5 period or just in that December period, December can be bigger for you than even November. It just depends how you play your cards.
How do you guys think about like being? I mean, we talked about this a little bit, but like I'm kind of curious to know how you guys like decide where the line is between being reactive to what some of the other bigger competitors might be doing, or versus just like kind of sticking to the plan that you have. Like, do you have some sort of heuristic that you guys use to say, this is what I'm going to react to, and this is what I'm not going to react to?
Yeah, so on our side, we are a little bound. We won't say handcuffed, but we are a little bound because of our wholesale business. So wholesale still is almost double what our ecom business does, even though our ecom business has almost tripled the last 3 years since I've been there. But sorry,
Humble brag.
Yeah. But having a partner like a Nordstrom does really kind of limit on what you can do, specifically in denim. There are a lot of things that we have to be cautious of, but with us, that's where we kind of tend to mix it up. So because of the growth we've had the opportunity to make some online exclusives. But yeah, I think you really have to look at your business as a whole and really mix it up. I'm interested to hear Spencer's thoughts on what you have in the chamber. Are you still kind of holding that big promo for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or starting on the Wednesday, with us, we've been pulling back promos significantly the whole year, spending more money on content, these nicer shoots. We did a campaign shoot at the Invisible House. We've really spent a lot of time on elevating the brand. So with that, we do need to do more exclusives and not just, save that like site-wide to be truly special. So we're fortunate in those regards, but interested to hear Spencer's thoughts on that.
Yeah, I know that's super interesting that you brought into wholesale. We're kibbles and bits on the wholesale side still. That's a huge lever that Bilt has the opportunity to go pull when they're ready. Retail is also super infancy stages and has been crushing out the gate. So that's been awesome to see as like another lever that Bilt hasn't even pulled yet. And majority of the revenue coming from ecom as a whole. But we did the same thing. We pulled back on sales this past year. Steve mentioned a competitor doing 90%. We similarly have a competitor that was doing like 80, 70%. And people were like, I'd have friends being like, dude, you're getting killed by so-and-so. I was like, dude, so-and-so is getting killed. They're on 70% off. We didn't play into that game where we were looking at competitors and what they're doing. We're looking year over year at our own metrics and our own strategy for a 3-year to 5-year plan. And if I need to pull a lever, we're going to have that site-wide sale from the get. But we can do last call where you can increase that. You can do BOGOs. You can do buy one, get one. You can do bundles. Like there's so many things when you work at a company that has 10,000 SKUs where you can come up with a million different ideas on how to make an offer more attractive. And then luckily at Bilt, it's the most talented creative team I've ever worked with, but also the fastest. So like they're filming, shooting, spooling everything up right there, same day, from briefing to shooting to editing to getting out the door if it needed to be done. So speed is a really big factor in it, but I don't think we necessarily look at competitors and what they're doing. We're kind of like game of golf, like looking at ourselves and year over year performance.
Oh, yeah. I think we've given advice. I think probably more entertaining is the horror stories or pitfalls. For you two, what are the pitfalls that you would advise people? Like, what are the traps to avoid during Cyber Week, if you will?
I mean, I think one we've talked about a few times is being too reactionary. I think, stick to your guns, but I think, you have to look at your business as a whole. So I would not, be quick to jump on things that other people are doing or be, reactionary like our president. We've had many conversations throughout this year about launching TikTok Shop. And, every time he brings it up, and he's like, he sent me an email 3 weeks ago, and he's like, people say I'm crazy for not being on TikTok Shop. And I was like, sure, let's run through the numbers again. Ran through the numbers again. And he's like, okay, now I remember why I don't want to do it. But I told him, hey, here's the upside. If we're not just looking at the numbers of it, here's the upside. With us, we do kind of limit our Amazon business. So the discovery that you will find through that platform on TikTok, they say it's, can be, 1 order on TikTok Shop equals, 2 on Amazon. People would rather have it Prime and free shipping and all that stuff. But understanding just each channel and not falling into just, this is what this person said, or this is what, I heard on a podcast here, really kind of sticking to what, the data has shown you all year long.
Yeah, fine line between kind of conviction and agility, right?
Yeah.
You can't be overly reactive, but you do need to be agile to change strategy. Spencer, how about from you? Traps to avoid?
I would second that. Like, don't be reactionary and stick to the strategy that you've had set. A lot of people will say, Black Friday, Cyber Monday starts in January. I definitely believe that. I think it really starts in like August, like when it comes to your spend. And I think as you're filling that top of funnel and as you're looking at metrics, especially in these early days leading up to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, don't turn down your spend or turn it off. Spool up creative, make sure your tracking and CAPI is good. Look at your exclusions, like pull different levers there. Don't be pulling back budget. I have not heard from anybody over the past, even last year when last year was tough, I wasn't hearing people saying like, oh man, I wish I spent less. It was always like, dang, I wish I spent more and I wish Meta let me spend more, but I didn't even hit my budget during Black Friday and Cyber Monday because of how hot the auction was. And
yeah,
maybe,
right? Like you want to go spend 10 grand, but then all of a sudden everything's triple the price of what you're used to. It's hard to convince yourself to get there.
Oh no, I get it. I totally get it, but I think if you believe in your team, your product, your strategy, like, dude, go send it. It's gonna come back to you during Cyber 5. Like, you can, you're gonna have the sales come through. I just, I hate to see when people start squirming like right around now or in like late October, and they're just kind of shooting themselves in the foot, or that it comes into black like on Cyber Monday. Whatever you spend at 10 a.m., you can go try to pour fuel in there and put more money in there, and it probably won't spend it to that budget when it come around noon or 1 o'clock. If anything, you can pull that money back. But like I said, I just wouldn't. I think the pitfall that I see is some people play scared at this time of year.
Yeah,
What do you guys do during out of stocks? Like, I mean, is this something you guys have dealt with in the past? Like, I mean, especially the larger the SKU count, I'm sure. But how do you guys deal with that typically?
For us, I just ship. I have to turn those ads off, and you shift to a new product pretty quickly. But luckily, our demand planning team has been super dialed. They've been in this game at Built. During a pandemic, pre-pandemic to now, and like that team's only gotten stronger and stronger and added more people to it. If anything, Sanjay, I get more worried when they buy too much of something, and I'm like, oh man, you bought way too much of this random new denim. You guys are taking a huge bet on this because the product team was like, yeah, let's go do it. I'm like, dang, I hope I can sell that because I'm competing with like a whole nother vertical.
Order more of these bombers that I have here, Spencer. Best flag in the game from Built. I wear this thing all the time, and I look hot as hell in it. I think anybody would.
Noted.
There you go. If I could borrow a few of those demand planners, appreciate it. We're on the opposite side. We're in hyper growth mode. Very thankful, first of all, just to be in that place. But it's been really tough for us. We've been great at, like I said, elevating the brand, creating good content. But with us, we're really probably leaving some money on the table on the buying side. We just had a second animal camo launch here in September. Had to air in some goods to try to make sure we got it, hit the right time. Sold out of those in 3 days. Sold out of, 6-8 weeks of inventory in 4 weeks. So, on our side, we were on the other side of it. It's something that we really have to rectify for next year because, when for us, it's built more on the fashion pieces versus just having something that's, never out of stock or evergreen. So it's that fine line of like, okay, when you buy into a trend or something you think is going to be a trend, thankfully we have an amazing designer that's been with the brand for 20 years, still has her finger on the pulse across the board, makes an amazing pair of jeans. But with us, I think we could definitely, there's room for improvement on the buying and planning side.
Sanjay, you were nice enough to tee me up before to chat about OpenSend for a minute. I think if people don't know what OpenSend is, they might be asking similar questions about Replo. So I'm lucky. We can get people stood up in 30 minutes and off and running. Talk about what people can do in the confines of what we discussed, 120 minutes or less.
Yeah.
What can I do with Replo?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the our products have a similar spirit in the sense of you're spending all this time, money, and energy getting traffic to your website. You want to make sure you're maximizing the effects of that, or like the efforts, and just conversion rate optimization, right? You want to send them to better PDPs, better funnels. Think about funnels. And the nice thing is we've got a new AI product out where you can literally in like 10 minutes. And I've tested this. I did a live stream a couple weeks ago where I did like 4 different companies in the span of 30 minutes, where you're able to build connect your Shopify and build a landing page. We've got like the library of all the hundreds of thousands of pages that work well for pretty much any vertical, and you can have that spun up and start driving traffic to it really quickly. So conversion rate optimization, it's like landing pages, and my thinking is like just send your traffic to a better place, right? Like just Spencer, I think you mentioned you're looking at conversion rate pretty closely on an hourly basis. Like everyone is. But oftentimes I think we forget that we have the ability to control what our site looks like or what a buy box is structured to be. So that's what we do. You guys, I mean, like, and what I want to kind of segue into really quickly now that we've talked about, or I've talked about like landing pages and stuff, is like just like funnel construction and how you guys think about that for your businesses. I know just from apparel, largely it's usually like add to a collection page or add directly to a PDP, but do you guys see anything outside of that? Is that still like where the opportunity lies?
Yeah, sure. I'll take this if you don't mind. First, so with us, we have seen a huge increase in different fits. So our petite business is up 250% year over year. So it's something that now we're really looking at high traffic pages and what it is that people are looking for. With us, we still have a significant amount. People know the brand, significant amount. People still going to the homepage. But beyond that, obviously denim, but now, we've implemented a new fit quiz. So trying to bring, people down a path, you know, put them into Klaviyo, but also, just really looking at fits. I think overall, in the American customer, we're seeing lower plus business across the board, but really more focus on petite for us. So now we're doubling down on that. We're getting petite influencers and creators, running ads specifically calling out petite, which has worked out really well for us.
Nice. I mean, I think like in that, if I was trying to optimize anything there, it's like spin up a landing page. Like you're seeing the signal, right? You're seeing the purchases. Make sure like you're doing everything you can to juice that PDP as much as you can.
Yeah, man, we'll take you up on the offer to get that up and running in 10 minutes.
I will absolutely do that for you.
It's gonna live stream it.
I absolutely will. Spencer, what about you, man? How do you think about funnels for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's as traditional as you mentioned it. It's like you have homepage, bestsellers, collection pages, then PDPs. The one thing we've been exploring that's been really interesting is like the number one thing people have been asking for us, like just through these post-purchase surveys and other areas, is just like styling tips. Like they're like, you have so many pairs of pants, so many button-ups, so many shirts. Like we don't know how to pair this together. How can we pair it together? I mean, our clothing line was meant for like tech, real estate, finance bros that don't really know how to dress super well, but they know this looks great and it's premium. That's why during this time of the year, it's like 60% women are buying our stuff for their husbands and boyfriends. But like we want to teach these guys how to style themselves as well. So we're trying to build more of an upper funnel in the new year that is then going to drive them through like and educate them on how to dial in their fit. And then at this time of year, it's obviously just like, here's the ad, we're driving you straight to the PDP. Make sure we can solve that problem or get that gift for that guy.
So I mean, you just kind of mentioned like you said, 60% of your purchasers are women buying for men in their lives. Is that right? During Q4. So
Yep.
do you build like, ads, content, funnels, however you want to kind of frame it specifically for like the gift giving angle or is it just like, just run what you've been running and then just keep going?
No, we absolutely go the gift giving angle and then also just her for him in general. We sign like a lot of moms that are just like well known and like what we have seen is that a lot of these moms are in the Midwest and South, 20s, 30s, 40s. And yeah, man, they come in hard and like these creator moms for us at Built have done huge numbers for us. And we build our own funnels even just through them.
The SEC is the strongest consumer base, in my opinion, in America. I think they're always going to come through. As someone who went to an SEC school.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of like where I think, not to segue all the way off of it, but thinking about Tom and OpenSend is, when we get into the CTV space and us having these guys that we're targeting to want to wear our clothes, then we have these athletes like Gronk, and then we know we have these women that are from the Midwest and South, and we know that they're college educated. We call them like an academic Southern female. Ultimately, I know that if they went to any of these schools and they're alumni, college football is like the biggest thing that everyone's getting excited about. They're watching it. Like it's just so big in the Midwest and the South. We don't always think about it out here in California, but it's really easy bet for me to take some premium spots and get these commercials that are lined up with Gronk in these SEC football games. And then we can see through Tatari the spikes of traffic that are coming to our site. And then the hope is that we can retarget them with these meta ads and get them through the funnel.
Yeah. That's like, you loaded the deck pretty well for me there. Like you're talking about an audience that's really expensive to get in front of typically, right? So you go get these people, they come to your site, they click around and then they abandon, and that relationship with that person is over. And that's the value prop in a nutshell there. I've now given you that opt-in and email address so you can send them, you can keep that relationship going, get them to convert in a day or in a week or in 2 months. compared to the couple bucks you spent to drive that person in, like that cost is minimal. And we're really fortunate, right? Like we run this 14-day trial because we know by the end of it, people are seeing what Steve saw, right? Like you get $60,000 of revenue versus a couple $1,000 cost for a brand that size. That's a no-brainer. But that efforts compound, right? Now that I've given you that captive audience, you can hit that person 6 months down the road, assuming they're engaged, and give them your campaign for Black Friday, or give them your campaign for when college football starts again in August. That's a cool way to do it.
Absolutely, and you're not lying. These SEC spots they're expensive, like for sure. Ever since NIL came into play, like last year, all the bets I was taking on SEC before I even knew about the Southern women, I was like, oh dang, these things are working. Like I'm a genius, but like the spots were also cost nothing, and now they're getting up there.
Steve, really quick, I'm curious to know like how you guys think about gifting. I want to circle back on that really quickly, just to hear from your side of the aisle.
Yeah, so for us, not as much of a giftable purchase. Denim is pretty specific. Usually buying it for yourself, but doesn't stop you from gifting yourself and treating yourself at all. But to Spencer's point on a little more of the curation and styling, we've seen huge success with a new partner we've brought on called Envive, with their AI shopping assistant. Conversion rate is much higher than what we're seeing on our site. Women are really enjoying asking questions, but also just even the ease of use of clicking around and a lot of the AI prompts, whether it's summarize reviews, tell me how does this fit, and really the engagement with that has been amazing for us.
What is the tool called again?
Envive.
Envive, okay. And I'm assuming you can set it up inside of 2 hours?
That one's a little bit longer, so spend a few minutes planning it, because that one you do have to kind of train the AI agent. But it's something on the styling and just shopping assistant side has been very beneficial for us.
Nice. Okay.
I think, folks, and unless there's an objection, I kind of wanted to move to like my learnings, and we'll probably give people just a little bit of time back. Looking at my notes, the couple things that I jotted down. A lot of people ask about timing for when to start running these promotions. Spencer basically said, like, most people are running promotions now. If you're not running promotions by November 14th, you're going to be behind. If you're not running them by the 21st, you're well behind, and obviously everyone's going to run them on the 28th. Spencer also commented on like how fertile the ground is in December. That December can also be your best month. So we think about Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and people neglect the 3 weeks before Christmas, where I'll tell you what, that's when I'm going to be doing my shopping. We talked about this combination of being like agile enough to respond to the market, but disciplined enough to not be reactionary to everything your competition is doing. It is good to get a plan on paper, but write that plan in pencil and certainly not in pen. Obviously, we talked about like if you're going to generate traffic, send it to the right page. That's where Replo can step in and help you like be dynamic in what you're sending people to. And I can't help it. If you're going to drive a bunch of traffic for people that are super high intent, you get to define what intent looks like for you and let OpenSend step in and capture that identity for you, so your relationship with that customer doesn't end if they abandon without purchasing or signing up. But recognize, like, very grateful to have people join. This is the highest stakes time of the year. A couple quick levers you can pull to hit those goals for the next few weeks and beyond. So I want to thank everybody for joining, and special thanks to Spencer and Steve for joining us as well, because they're in the throes of doing this for themselves, and they took the time to impart some knowledge on us and the rest of you. So really appreciate it, guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thanks, boys. It was a great chat.
All right, everybody. You be well.